Hi, everybody. This is day 1564. Let's see if you can hear me. A new mic. Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so this is day 1564, and we have all kinds of breaking news. It's been, I just can't even tell you how big this week has been in Richard's case. And so we'll just start with 1,564 days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered on Fort Bliss. This is a code red. This is internal. This was ordered. This was a huge betrayal of our volunteer soldiers, our young sons and daughters that volunteer, and that their leadership has an obligation to care for and mentor and train and protect as well as they can, especially on a military installation, um, our sons and daughters, right? And yet, because they were engaged in unlawful activities on Fort Bliss, um, debt is an ugly, ugly thing. And one thing, there's many common denominators. One of the common denominators is that these people, so many of them in this rogue criminal group, have declared bankruptcy. Debt is so destructive. Is so destructive, and I have my thoughts because of my faith on debt. And it's so destructive because it makes people ugly, it makes people mean, it makes people greedy, and it makes them desperate. It makes them desperate. And this is why you have the criminal trafficking. You have people risking their legacy, uh, their, you know, their good name, their soul. They sell their soul to the devil because they are desperate, because they're in debt. It's it's just so many times you've seen it. And so they will get into the narcotics business. They will get into the pimping business. They will get into the child corn business. They will get into all kinds of criminal trafficking, um, when it comes to the weapons and the ammunition and everything. Oh, we have plenty of it. Plenty will come in. I can just fudge the numbers a bit. I can just fudge these numbers. It's like on a computer, right? No one can see my erase marks. That's the nice thing about having the books, right? And when uh, my mom was younger, or my grandmother or my dad, they would tell me, you can't have one of those little ears on your paper. You can't have a bend. You can't have, any kind of extra mark or anything like that on your paper. It has to be very, very clean. And that's because, you could see when something is tampered with, right? But when it's on a computer, and you can just kind of delete, and you can't see the erase marks, you can't see the little bent, you can't see the other marks, the scratch outs, whatever. You can't see that in a computer. And so, they just like, okay, let me just fudge this computer a little bit, especially if you have somebody that's very handy with computers. And we're told that Dallas Hart is very handy with computers, very, very handy with computers. And if you have someone like that and they want to fudge the computer, so that, okay, ammunition goes missing or guns go missing or anything like that, um, Richard was reporting criminal activities on Fort Bliss. he was reporting them to Child Protective Services. We know that Dallas Hart was in possession of child pornography. We know that Leilani Hart was in possession of child pornography. We know that uh, James Hart liked his pornography. Um, and I'm supposed to say corn. I'm supposed to say corn because, then you get shadow banned and shadow banned. Um, it's so hard for me to beat around the bush. I want to give it to you straight. I want absolutely to give it to you straight. And with Richard's case, it's been broken. I've told you that we have broken the case. And when it comes to the Walmart case, after these last few days, we have broken the Walmart case. It's clearly broken. And so, now that it's clearly broken, we're not the only ones that see it, that it's broken and understand what's going on here. We're getting more and more information coming in. And I just want to say thank you to Team Find Richard Halliday. I want to say thank you so much because they absolutely know the level of this crime, that it's one of the biggest cases in all of U.S. history, that it's right up there with JFK because it's international, because it involves our intelligence community, because it involves the law enforcement community, because it involves the judicial branch, because it involves our military, because it involves Mexico AG, Mexico law enforcement, because it involves our VA, 15 plus agencies. Um, it really is political. And so, this is, if you're wondering why hasn't this been in the news, I just think it's like, why isn't JFK in the news? Why haven't they released the files? Why haven't they unclassified the files? It is just so unpredictable in controlling where it goes that they just seal it. They seal it. They gag it. They silence it. And they silenced Richard for a reason. With this code red murder, right? They silenced him for a reason. And, they wanted this silenced, right? They didn't want this out there. And, that's why they brought out a new narrative when we, were like, where's our son? That's why they brought out this new narrative. They had developed this false and fake narrative because they wanted to silence the truth. And so, now that the truth is out there, they're, they're nonverbal. They're nonverbal, like, I believe, very suspicious that is the situation with Patrick Crusius because, who's heard him talk? You know, who's heard him talk 2 or 3 sentences together? It he seems to be nonverbal, and if he's nonverbal, that really makes us question Joe Spencer, right? Because this week has been just a wowzer when you know that Richard's case is absolutely intertwined with the Walmart case, and that we've broken both cases because with hard evidence, right? With hard evidence, circumstantial evidence, and irregularities. This week is, it really, when you have Loretta Lynn Hewitt coming out with that kind of mitigating evidence, that kind of what do you call it? Ex, anyway, to find, to really question, to get Patrick Crusius off the hook of this huge crime, that he received 90 life sentences. But the bigger issue, because Patrick Crucius still needs to be tried because he still was there. He still, um, surrendered himself and said he did something, right? Who knows? I mean, they didn't read him his Miranda rights. Is that because he's so mentally unstable? They just didn't feel like, I don't know. They didn't bag his hands, right? They didn't bag his hands for evidence. Um, there's so many things wrong. Um, why didn't they do that, right? Why didn't they do that? Who is this? Who is this police, right? And if, you know, I suspect the police because I suspect Joe Spencer. And what do I mean about the police? Those three was Patrick Crucius told to go to those two Texas Rangers and the one Hispanic police officer. I just think, oh my gosh, this is such a frame job, and you know, uh, it's clear that Joe Spencer is part of the rogue criminal group, right? From the original response team. He's part of that. He's part, he's absolutely connected to Leilani Hart. He's absolutely connected to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. He's absolutely connected to this rogue group that has been, targeting Team Fire Richard Halliday. And absolutely Richard, and trying to control the narrative and everything. We've broken both cases. And, even though we believe that Patrick Crucius needs to be tried, and we're just like the injustice that has been done to him, because 5 years being in isolation, I mean, look at him compared to the first pictures, and now it's just like, oh my gosh, it's so abusive. It's so abusive because can you imagine if they just took advantage of someone that was, what is his level of mental health, right? And we can go on and talk about him. There's so many things that we need to find out about that. But what is worse? What is so worse? I don't even know worse. What is uh, the point that I want to focus on is that they did this to him. The system we paid to do this to him. We we filled Joe Spencer's pockets up, y'all, with our state and federal tax money to do this egregious, uh, unlawful, unjust whole case that is absolutely a frame job against someone that has special needs. And it 5 years, 5 millions and millions and millions of dollars, and millions of dollars also for, this, for Richard's case. I think it's even more what they have done to obstruct justice, to fraud, waste, and abuse the system. And that is so criminal because it takes all trust out of a system that you're supposed to go to, um, for refuge, right? For truth. When things go wrong and you need the law on your side, you need to be able to go to the system that is supposed to be establishing the law. And yet we have Joe Spencer totally abusing the law, obstructing what is just, and weaponizing the law so that criminals can continue to, with their unlawful activities. And this is goes into Mexico, and this also goes into our military. And this is what Joe Spencer, revealed in these last days as we think about it and review what he did with his team in the court to attack the DA's office there. And we have the DA is a usurper, right? He's a usurper, and he didn't even mention that. He's going after the DA, but he's not mentioning that he's a usurper. You know, there's so we team find Richard Halliday, and I want to make this. I shouldn't even say that. Um, sorry. We team find Richard Halliday. It is a group effort, and I was going to talk about my husband behind the scenes, um, but it's such a group effort to be able to do this. Today I heard like Kamala had 7,000 lawyers, and I'm like, what good is that going to do her? She doesn't have the law behind her. She doesn't have the law behind her. She's a usurper. So she could have how many she wants. She could have, a whole host of these ridiculous lawyers. And, what good is it going to do if they are like Joe Spencer? If they are like Judge Madrano? I mean, look at Joe Spencer. He looked ridiculous. He looked criminal. He looked criminal. That's what he looked. Because you have Loretta Lynn Hewitt, who knows a lot. Of course, she knows a lot. But jaw-dropping testimony of the witnesses that she interviewed. Jaw-dropping. That Patrick Crusius could never have done this alone. That his mental health condition was so bad when he was young that the parents were getting advice to kill him, that they shouldn't even let him live. You shouldn't have even let him live. I mean, that is jaw-dropping. And, for Team Find Richard Halliday to just side with the law all the time, side with the law. Say, look, we're going to be patient. We're going to identify the crimes. We're going to document the crimes. We're going to file the crimes. And we've been doing that day after day. And then something like this happens where, it is so clear that Joe Spencer knew from the very beginning that he had a special needs person as a client, and that he lied to the federal court about Patrick Crusius understanding what he had done. He lied. He said, oh yeah, he understands. And he didn't. And he doesn't. And 90 life sentences. 90 life sentences. And so, people are seeing that, and they're, giving us more information, and we're going through it. And I just want to thank people very, very much, because this was so destructive to the community, so destructive to the election. It was such election tampering. It was so political. It was so damaging to so many lives. And of course, including our son's life. And so we are very, very, very grateful. And we're trying to just make sure that we go through this information and understand it. before we present it to you. Um, it's very, very clear that Judge Madrano is um, is also engaged in criminal activity with this case. And, one of it is for like political control, right? Because that produces um, the ability to do your criminal trafficking, right? When you have political control, when you can control so many different aspects of the law enforcement system and the legal system, then you can, do your criminal trafficking with impunity. Um, but also it's for greed too, because, we're what, upwards $37 trillion in debt. Um, we're always very ready in our system to give money for our safety, for our security, for law enforcement, for these trials. And millions and millions were approved by Judge Madrano um, for years, to line the pockets of Joe Spencer and to allow Joe Spencer to um, do his criminal activities. And that's what I find is the most egregious thing, because then it just snowballs, right? Then it just snowballs and so many more people get hurt. So this is, you know, a happy Sunday, right? A happy Sunday. We're burning the midnight oil, of course. It's fall back, fall back. I hope you turn back your clocks. And, we're really, um, I just say it's a day of gratefulness. We're very grateful for Loretta Lynn Hewitt. We're very grateful, even for Joe Spencer messing up so bad, and Judge Madrano messing up so bad. Because one of the first things that they should have done is tell the community that we have provided them evidence, hard evidence, that Bill Hicks is a usurper, that the magistrate judge that Patrick Crucius was brought to and arraigned under, um, and specifically Penny Hamilton, is has no authority. They are illegal. And so, that's two whoppers right there, right? That's two huge whoppers. And there's more. And we notified the media, we notified um, Joe Spencer of all of this, and he failed to mention it. And our our complaints against Judge Madrano should have been also mentioned. There should be some transparency, and Judge Madrano didn't do that. We have major, major complaints against him, um, eh, with the Commission on Judicial Conduct, and that wasn't mentioned, and so that's a mess up. They're messing up. They are absolutely messing up, and it is a real blessing to us, because our goal is to expose this criminal cabal, this criminal network that is covering up that they found our son's remains, and they know where Richard's remains are, at least partial remains are. We, I got that again today, that they know. I got some really strange news today about Richard being found in uniform, and I'm going to double check that. This corroborates earlier information that we got, that Richard was found in uniform, and this gives a little more detail about that. So that is huge news. So more and more information is coming in, because we want our son's remains. And we also want to tell everyone that, yeah, it's like both cases have been broken, and now, we're just going to push forward and forward and forward until, the system has enough there that they have to act. And, that's a sweet spot, isn't it? You have to get enough evidence, be it hard evidence, be it circumstantial evidence, be it irregularities, and you have to document enough times and file it enough times that they are driven to do their job, because they have to be driven to do their job. And so that is, uh, the last few days was a lot of material to use to drive them to do their job. So I'm very grateful for that. Lots of evidence there, and I will, um, let you know more um, as we um, as we verify the information that's coming in. So thank you so much. I know it's Sunday. Thank you so much. And please share. I did make a couple videos. The music video that I put together, it's pretty good. It's being shadow banned. Okay, it's being blocked. So if you want to share that, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And then the text of, well, the recording of Loretta Lynn Hewitt, that seems to be getting out there. But if you can share it, that would be um, really appreciative, because Richard's case is absolutely intertwined with the Walmart case. And we believe that the whole, once this breaks with the Walmart case, it will reveal the bad actors and also our son's remains. And we want his remains. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be